Good morning, everyone, and good evening, depending on where you're from. Looks like we've got a couple of international friends with us today. If this is your first Camp Engage session, we're so glad to have you. If you have been in several sessions, then you are good at this. My husband is seated in front of me and the iPad has my name. We cannot change it. Okay, no worries. Welcome, everyone. Looks like we've got people coming in from all over the United States, but we've also got friends from the UAE. Welcome to you. Glad to have you and good evening. We also have friends from, look like Singapore. Welcome there as well. Let's see. Welcome, everyone. So if you have not already done so, we want to make sure that you know that you are invited to join that live Nearpod lesson. There's some information in the chat for you. There is also information on that shared screen, so you can join us there. When you join that lesson, you'll be joining about 50 of your friends who have already joined, and they are posting on a collaborate board, and they're giving us some information about where you're from, what you teach, and how long you might have been using Nearpod and Google together. We still have people actively coming in to the session, and so we want to make sure everybody has a chance to get there. There we go. All right, I'm going to give it about one more minute before we get started. Want to make sure that everybody has a chance to get in, but we know that we have a short amount of time today and want to make sure that we get you in here and get the learning started in a timely manner. I am going to close my chat window. I know that there are multiple team members with me today who are working in the chat, so they're going to be answering questions. If you have questions, I encourage you to use that Q&A box. The chat is a great place to say hi and welcome to one another, but if you want that question answered, if you'll put it in that Q&A box, it makes it much easier for the team to see. And so, because if you haven't noticed, that chat box is flying. So we want to make sure that everybody can see that. I'm going to close some things off of my screen here so that we have a little bit more workspace. But if you need to get into the session, then there's some information that will stay in the chat and you can get that information. So here we go. So welcome, everyone. Looks like we've got a great group here from all across the United States. You guys have already found the fact that you can chat with one another, so glad to have everybody here. We are going to get started. Singapore, adult learning educator. Fabulous. Yes, because Nearpod and Google are not just for K-12. So, all right, let's get started. So welcome. This one is Simplifying EdTech with the Google Classroom. And we're going to look at how do we work together to make learning so much more impactful for all of our students, whether they are K-12 or whether they are adults. Couple of housekeeping things. You have been in Camp Engage sessions probably, so you've heard all about the Q&A box. You've heard all about the prizes. If not, there's some FAQs that you can access on the site and to get all of the latest information on that. But I do want to take a moment to encourage you to open up your notes. So as a learner in Nearpod, you have a little black circle in the top right-hand corner of your screen. And when you click on that, it's going to give you a drop down. You can either choose notes there, or there is also a little bump out, has a little piece of paper and a pencil. So you can choose that and you can send your notes to either your email, your Google Drive, or your OneDrive. I have to assume if you are in this session that you use Google, and so I definitely recommend sending it to your Google Drive. It will ask you if you want to send it to a specific folder. I never do that. I can always go to my recents and find it. And so I just always say no and let it go. as soon as the session is over and I end the session, those notes are going to be in your drive, and those notes are going to be every slide that I show you and any notes that you might take, as well as the links that we have. It's going to be in an editable Google Doc, so you're definitely going to want to have that. You can do that at any point during the session today, but if you do it now and take care of it, you don't have to worry about it the rest of the time. So who am I? So I'm Julie Cobb. I'm the manager for the professional services team here at Nearpod. Been with Nearpod about 3 years. I am also joined today by a colleague from Google. So Dave, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Thanks, Julie, and thanks everybody for being here today. Really appreciate it. My name is Dave Messer. I'm a product manager with Google Classroom. I was a former educator and director of technology, and have been with Google for the last 3 or 4 months when I joined, and super excited to share some of the updates that we have with you today.
All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. And the first thing we want to talk about is how we can really streamline those tech tools that you use. As a teacher in the classroom, we have all had those wonderful things that we use, but they're sort of all over the place. And sometimes I get in the habit and I forget to use something because it's not right there and I have lots of tabs. And so really today is about how do we streamline that for you? How do we take things like Google Classroom and Google Drive and your docs and the things on Chromebook, and then all those extra things like, we're not going to say all the other tools, but you know, all those other tools, and we can bring all those in, and we can have all of our interactive slides and interactive videos. We can have our gamification. We can do all of our formative assessments. We can have our content that's standards aligned. We can bring in things like whiteboard and annotation, all into one place. So it makes it super easy for you as the teacher. It makes it super easy for you and for the students, because they don't have to go find all of the different resources that you're asking them to use. And so everything can come together. We can put it all in one place, makes it convenient and easy. And one of the ways that we do that, one of the primary ways that we do that here lately is going to be through Google. And so I'm going to turn this over to Dave, and he's going to go through some of the ways that we can really make the most of this ecosystem that we're using.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. So I want to talk about exactly what Julie was talking about. We really want to simplify the EdTech ecosystem. We know that you as teachers are using different tools to make your classrooms engaging, but bringing them together can be really difficult. We're really excited about add-ons, which is going to help make your favorite tools work even better together. So Google for Education began with a mission to empower educators and students to teach, learn, and collaborate from anywhere. As technology advances and as you use more tools, we want to continue to support that connection between educators, you, and your students with new tools that help you have more impact. We're especially moving towards deeper interconnectivity and connection between your tools to power student potential. Google Classroom is an easy to use and secure tool that helps educators manage, measure, and enrich learning experiences. I notice a lot of people have been using Google for years, so I'm sure this is not a surprise. But for those who don't, it's easy to get started and simple to use. It's built for collaboration, productivity, and engagement. It enables teaching and learning from anywhere on any device. And Classroom really makes EdTech tools work better together and uses adaptive learning technology that can help students learn at their own pace. Now with Classroom add-ons, you can actually create more engaging, seamless, and personalized experiences for your students, all from within Google Classroom. So what are Google Classroom add-ons? Classroom add-ons weave together your favorite tools to help save teachers time with a one-click integration. You can log into Classroom, go directly to your favorite EdTech tools and apps, all with single sign-on, rather than having each student log into a different website and waiting for students to remember their passwords and so forth. It saves you time in creating lessons. It helps you save time because you don't have to create new lessons from scratch. Instead, you can drop in content you created from within your favorite EdTech apps directly into Classroom. Admin setup is really fast with this too. Once admin set up each add-on from the Google Workspace Marketplace for your school, teachers and students will automatically have access to your favorite tools right from within Classroom. We also know this helps you make those engaging lessons, as Julie was talking about before. You can select from thousands of resources from your favorite EdTech tools and apps to give students an easily accessible and unique way to interact with lessons. You can assign that content and activities from within Classroom. You don't actually have to go out to that add-ons website. It also simplifies submissions, so students can access their assigned work, they can review content and complete activities all from within Classroom, again, with that single login. And last, I think this is one of the coolest parts, is this streamline of insights and grading. You can review student work with a detailed view of each student's performance, easily grade assignments within Classroom, with some add-ons that offer that automatic grading option. And you can also add that personalized feedback when sharing the grade back with students. The simplest way I could explain this is the same way that Classroom helped to wrangle Google Docs to distribute them, get them back, and provide feedback. We are now doing that with add-ons so that you can assign that third-party content all from within Classroom, get it back, and see it within the classroom. So for domains with the Teaching and Learning Upgrade or EDU Plus, you can install Classroom add-ons in minutes. Have your admin go to the Google Workspace Marketplace, find the add-on that you need, and install it in seconds. Once admins have domain installed the add-ons or allow listed them, educators can access these tools right from within Classroom. I do want to note some add-ons include subscription-based services or have other requirements for installation. Talk to your admin to get more information about how you can access your favorite EdTech tools. And with that, I want to show you this in action so you can see what this looks like a bit more.
I'll go ahead and play it.
Google Classroom Add-ons is a new feature that allows you to bring your favorite content, activities, and lessons from top EdTech tools right inside Classroom. Once your admin sets up an add-on, you, the teacher, can find it and get logged in with just a few clicks. Add-ons use a single sign-on from Google, so you and your students can sign into Classroom and your add-ons with the same secure login, removing the need to remember multiple passwords. And no more navigating to different websites to access classwork. Everything stays right within Classroom. To access content from your add-ons, open a new assignment in Classroom and select the add-on you want to use. Add-ons are custom built, so depending on the tool you're using, you'll be able to do things like browse, search, filter, and preview the content you want to use, then assign it to your students. Students are directed to complete the assignment, all without leaving Classroom. Some add-ons automatically grade assignments and upload grades to Classroom, saving you time, as well as providing detailed visibility into student performance. Learn, organize, collaborate, create with Classroom.
Awesome. So like we said, we are so excited. Thank you to Nearpod for their partnership in making this happen to make your EdTech tools work better together. We're really excited to see how you can use this to help transform teaching and learning in your classroom. With that, I'll pass it back to Julie, who's going to share some more.
All right. Thank you so much. This is so exciting. I can't wait. So our next step is to really look at what this does in connection to Nearpod. So we know we love Google Classroom, and now we get to combine those two even more seamlessly. So as this partnership has grown over the last little bit, as we've been, Google's been working on this. It really is designed to increase that functionality. It's designed to save you time as an educator. As Dave mentioned, you can assign lessons, you can review those Nearpod reports, you can automatically record grades directly within Google Classroom from any device, because we know we're not always sitting in the classroom when we do this. Sometimes we're in our at the gym or wherever we might be looking at some of this stuff. So students can access that Nearpod lesson straight from Google Classroom, which means they don't need that code. They don't need to put in their name. It's automatically going to do those types of things for them. And so this really is going to improve that workflow for teachers and for students. So let's look at what this actually looks like in a Google Classroom. So for the moment, I am going to leave the I'm going to leave the Nearpod lesson, and I'm going to do a demonstration from my Google Classroom. So that means that what you're going to see now is not in the Nearpod lesson. So you're going to need to look at that Zoom. So find that Zoom window wherever it is on your device. I'm going to open up another tab. And I'm going to go to my Google Classroom. So currently have one called Learning with Nearpod. I'm going to open that up. And so it opens up to my stream. But today my focus is going to be getting those assignments, which is going to include my Nearpod lesson, to my learners. So I'm going to start in my classworks. I'm going to create a new lesson. Now, you notice I already have a couple of categories and stuff, been playing with all of this, so excited to get to share, but I'm going to show you how easy this is. So I'm going to create an assignment. And I could give it a title, but one of the cool things is I don't have to at this point. It's going to give it a title for me. So watch what happens with that. So I know for a fact that I want to add a Nearpod lesson to this assignment. So down here in this bottom right corner underneath those assignment details is my new add-on section. And the add-on that I have is Nearpod. Again, Dave mentioned that there's going to be others that you may or may not have, but mine is Nearpod. So I'm going to click on Nearpod. Because I have already connected with my Nearpod account, it is in my Nearpod account. It opens up to my lessons. And so I can go in and I can choose from one of the lessons that I have in my lesson library. If I didn't have one there, I do have the option to pop out right here and go straight to Nearpod. If I need to look in the Nearpod library, if I hadn't actually found my lesson yet, I had just gotten started, I could pop out and go to that Nearpod. But I've got a couple in here that I think I want to use. And so we're going to just stay right here. So the one I think I want to use with my students coming up is going to be this growth mindset lesson. And so I need to decide, will we be doing this together as a group, as a whole group, or as small groups, live with me as the teacher, in which case I want to choose live participation. Or are we going to be doing this as student-paced? Everybody's going to be working independently. I just need them to do the work. So either way, the process is going to be the same. But I think for this one, the growth mindset might be a little personal. So I want my students to work through this independently. So I'm going to click on student-paced, and I am going to add the assignment. So I'm going to click Add to Assignment. Right there. There is my Nearpod lesson, and check out what it did. It put a title on my assignment. So I don't have to go back and put that title. It is already there for me. Another way that it's just saving you a few steps and a few clicks, which we all know that even just saving a few of them is going to help tremendously. I do want to add some instructions though. So I want to encourage my students to complete the Nearpod lesson. And then I want them to, I want them to complete a reflection sheet on what they learned, because I can combine this with some of the power that we already had from Nearpod. So, and from Google. So they've got the Nearpod lesson and a student will click on that, but I also want them to do that reflection sheet. So this is kind of a 2-in-1. So I'm going to go down to my Google Drive here, and I'm going to click on my Google Drive. And there's my reflection sheet. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to insert that one into my Google Classroom. Now, it does remind me, thank goodness, because I oftentimes forget, it does remind me that I need to make a choice for that one. Do I want everybody just looking at it? Do I want everybody editing the same one? Could. Sometimes it's super valuable. We'll talk about that in a minute, but sometimes not so much. So I'm going to choose to make a copy. So I'm going to make a copy for each student. I do need to go ahead and add some information over here. I've got it in my classroom. I am going to have it go to all of my students, but I could choose to send it just to 1 or 2. My point value, I'm going to leave it at 100. I could change that if I wanted to. I do want to give it a due date just because that encourages students to go ahead and get their work done, but I don't have to. But let's go ahead and make this due next week. Not going to give it a time. I'm going to put it in my topic. Let's put it during the first week of school. We're going to put it in that topic. I could add a rubric. Not going to add a rubric at this point, but I could definitely do that. And check out all my stuff. All right, I've got a title. I've got my instructions. I've got some extra work I want them to do. I've got the Nearpod lessons, going to take them straight there. I'm good. I'm going to click assign. And so now this assignment is ready to go. My students will see it just like they have any other assignment I've ever done in Google Classroom. They will choose that assignment. They will go straight to the Nearpod lesson, work through the Nearpod lesson. One of the newest pieces of this is that when a student goes to a Nearpod lesson from here, then they actually are going to get a different button. Now, I'm going to pull up my student screen here real quick for a moment. And I'm going to refresh, make sure I have all of it. Oh, there's my new lesson as a learner. So I can click it here or I can click it under classwork. There it is. So I'm going to click on that. And it says complete the Nearpod lesson. Okay, we're going to do that first. So I'm going to complete that Nearpod lesson. You'll notice no code, no anything, takes me straight in. I have not signed in with this account. My apologies. Oh, yep, that's me. And so as a learner, I can work through this lesson. But what I wanted to show you was one of the new features is in the Nearpod lesson that you have sent through Google Classroom, there's a turn-in option. Used to, we were like, yeah, I don't know if the kids did my Nearpod lesson. I gave it to them. Now we will know. So they are going to click that turn-in option and turn it in. So I'm going to close my student learner here right now. I'll move that out of the way. And as the teacher, I can click on that and I notice I have one that is turned in. So I can click on that and it tells me that it's turned in. I can go in, I can see the different options that they turned in. I can also look at my grades. So, whoops, hold on, let me go back here. There we go. I can also go in and look at it as a grade book. So I can see that that's turned in. I could go in, I could review that information, review the student report from Nearpod, review the other information that was provided, and look at all of the different pieces of data that I have, and it's all captured in that one location, which is so exciting. This grade pass back or this report pass back, I think for a lot of teachers is going to be just super exciting. So we've talked a little bit about the Google Classroom connection and how that's going to streamline things for you. One of the things that we want to also remember is that it does connect. Nearpod and Google do connect in a variety of other ways. And so let's talk about how some of that might work for you. So this is going to be a high level conversation. We're not going to go into the hows too much of things, but just want to give you some ideas to kind of get you thinking about some of this. So a couple of additional integrations. So we have that add to Google Classroom, but have you ever considered going the other way? You can actually put an assignment into Nearpod as well. So if at the end of my Nearpod lesson, I want to send them to an additional Google Classroom assignment, I can do that. We can also do a collaborative Google slide deck. We know about the Google Slides add-on. So if you have a paid Nearpod account, you can build in Google Slides. You can use the add-on to get that information into Nearpod, or you can just build your Google Slides with all of those creative options and then upload those slides into Nearpod. But what if we used slides for something other than the presentation? So we're going to talk about that. And then we're also going to look at how you can use docs. Google Docs sometimes don't get quite enough love. And so how can we use those as a shared learning experience also? So let's first talk about this Google Classroom the other way. Every Google Classroom assignment has its own individual link. And so if I had the Nearpod lesson as an assignment, I sent them to Nearpod. And then the last piece of Nearpod was to send them to a specific Google Classroom assignment. I could do that by adding it as a link. So let me show you where that is. When I look at my assignments, now I wouldn't do it with this one because this one is, I've already gotten them in there, but I might want to send them to something else. I can open up those three little dots on that Google Classroom assignment and copy that link. That link can be added to any Nearpod lesson as a web content, which means it sends students to that very specific assignment. So if you've ever worked with students, I worked with junior high students for a long time, and there was a lot of, yeah, I can't find that. Or you didn't tell me that, or it wasn't in my Google Classroom, which we all know is not true. But this way they go directly there. There are no conversations. There's no confusion about what it is that they need to do. So that's one of the additional ways that you can use that power of that Google Classroom and Nearpod connection. So use the assignment to get them into a Nearpod, use the Nearpod to get them back into a very specific assignment, a different assignment. The next integration is probably one of my favorites. I really like using the Google Slides as a collaborative space. So if you want to do more than what you can do on a collaborate board, if you want to have a different conversation, if you want to have students do something a little bit more in depth, one of my favorite ways is to use Google Slides, but to use it in such a way that students can actually edit the Google Slides together. So you can do this straight through Google Classroom and have everybody edit the same document, but you can also do it through Nearpod. And when you bring it into Nearpod as a web content, then you control when they go in and you control when they come out of that slide deck. And so then each student has their very own slide that they can edit all in the same deck. Now, I know some of you are thinking, oh my goodness, I have 35 students and they're in first grade and that's a hot mess. What we're going to do is we're going to build those slides ahead of time for those young ones and put their name on it. And they can go find their slide and type only on their slide. But for the older students, we give some instructions about creating a slide and give them some parameters to work in. And then everybody's working in the same slide deck. Everybody gets to see each other's work. So it becomes a very shared learning experience. And as the teacher, I only have to open up one slide deck and I can see all of those slides together. I don't have to open up all of the different ones. So super fast way. I like doing it with vocabulary. That's the way I have used it in the past. And so everybody gets a different vocabulary word, or they each pick one, and then they teach one another with their information. And so what you can teach, you understand at a higher level. And so that's one of my favorite ways in order to use that, that collaborative slide deck. So if the everyone can edit scares you, try it with something simple to start with, your favorite book. Don't try it with content that they have to know right off the bat, but try it with something simple. It's a great, relevant, authentic digital citizenship lesson because we have to work in a digital space together. We have to cooperate. We have to make sure that we're not changing each other's slides. We have to make sure that we're providing appropriate comments, appropriate feedback. So it's a great opportunity to teach some of those digital citizenship skills as well as teaching those content skills at the same time. So the other thing that I like to do, and this one I think doesn't get quite as much attention, is using a shared Google Doc. So having everyone edit in a shared Google Doc gets a little scary. So it's a little bit easier on the slides because everybody has their own slide, but a shared Google Doc gets a little different. And so instead of having everyone can edit, what about using the option everyone can comment? So that means nobody can edit the text, but we could have a shared reading experience. I used to do this with something that had a lot of descriptive language. If we were talking about descriptive language, I was an English teacher, but you could do this with any content piece, any text that you wanted students to read and talk about and learn from. So you put students in there, they can comment to one another. So they begin to have this digital conversation around this shared piece of text. And so it could be things that they notice, or in this case, my instructions were for students to comment on something that was very descriptive and to comment why that was effective in the writing and how it made them feel, so that then they could take that information and put that into their own writing later on. They were able to see one another's comments. I was able to see everyone's comments, follow along with the learning. And so it was quite impactful for the learners as well as for me. Now, I do have to say, just something that I learned along the way is if you put about 20 people in a document, it's a little crazy. So oftentimes I would have links to 3 or 4 different documents. Same information on each one, but it divided my students into groups. And I could put that into the Nearpod lesson. I could have group A go to one, group B go to one. You can do that by adding slides directly in Nearpod with those hyperlinks. And so everybody's going to their different document. But as a teacher, I got to look at all the documents. I could pop into all the documents, watch that conversation that was going on, and really have that shared experience. It could be for annotating a piece of writing. Are we looking for strong sentences? Are we looking for verb tense? Or it could be just for sharing a reading experience. What do you understand about the science phenomenon? What part of this history text really was impactful for us today, and how it happened in the past? And so all of these things are ways in which you can use the shared aspect of Google within the power of Nearpod. And so really taking advantage of both of those things. So I want to take a moment. We're gonna stop right here and just kind of see if there are any things in the Q&A that we need to talk about from the front. If there are any questions or anything that we need to answer. Is there anything that we need to kind of take care of before we begin to wrap things up? All right, I am going to add a quick open-ended question. So we can kind of see where everybody is. So this is an ad on the fly. I'm going to click that share button on your screen as a learner. You now have that question. So tell us, what is your favorite integration with Google and Nearpod? What do you want to try first? What are you most excited about? I love it. I want to try everything. Absolutely. Google Slides and Nearpod. Try using vocabulary. Cool. Google Slides for lesson presentations. Absolutely. Easy access. Before, but I like the addition of the turn in. That's Christina, I totally agree. You could do some of this. I mean, as teachers, we're pretty good at figuring out the workaround and figuring out how to get things together. But the turn in button and the piece that goes into the grading, that's huge. Next gen personal finance with Nearpod. Love it. You're going to combine all of those things together. Oh dear, but you could see how it would eliminate tons of steps. Yes. Ready to give it all a try. You go, Kimberly. So I know that this was pretty quick because we just wanted to kind of give you some highlights of some of the integrations. If you are interested in some more of the sort of step-by-steps for some of this, how do you do that shared Google Slides or that shared Google Doc or something to that effect? We do have public webinars that are available a couple of times a month that is specifically geared towards Google and Nearpod together. What do these two powerful tools bring when they come together? And so I encourage you to check those out. I'm pretty sure that Alec is going to put some information into the chat on where you can find those. And so I would encourage you, if you need some more additional information, or you may be one of those people who I just needed the spark of the idea, I can figure it out on my own. Either way is fine. We are still virtual and your classes are large. Yeah. So the grades, the report, Michelle, is going to come to the Google Classroom, but it's not going to put a number in there. You're still going to need to put the number in there as far as how many points you want to generate for that, because there's still some things in Nearpod, like an open-ended question, where we want you to have the freedom to give it the points that you think it deserves. And so we want to make sure that that freedom is still available to you. So you still get to make that decision, but we have made it easier for you to see the evidence of that learning before you assign the number for that learning. Allow my students to learn from each other. Absolutely. It's great to have the integration for sure. Love the add-on option and the turn-in button. I'm telling you, that turn-in button, that was the game changer. Comment, not edit. See, I'm telling you, comment doesn't get a lot of love, but it's really, really powerful when students can do that. Informational text. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Addition of Nearpod lessons through Google Classroom. Yes. Haven't done it yet, but want to learn. Good. Oh, excited about Nearpod because you haven't used it before. Please check out our beginning sessions. We have those beginning sessions not only in Camp Engage, so you can catch those recordings if you didn't catch the sessions, or we also do those public webinars, and we have beginning sessions every week. So if you're like, still got some gaps, I need to fill in some gaps, please come back and fill in those gaps. Collaborative slide deck, nice. My favorite idea, I've got to see it. Build slides that we can work on collaboratively. Yep. Work together seamlessly. Yes, absolutely. Is grading more streamlined with the add-on? Yes. So with the add-on, you get to see the evidence right inside of Google Classroom. You're not flipping between Google Classroom and Nearpod. You don't have to download and look at it on a piece of paper and add it to Google Classroom. Everything is right there on the same screen. And so you are able to see the report and you can say, okay, they did this on the matching pairs. They did this on the open-ended question. And then as a teacher, you make that decision on how many points you choose to give for that evidence of learning. So yes, super streamlined. How easy, it's so easy. All right. Give us just another minute or so. I want to try it all. I'm absolutely all about it. Collaborative opportunities. Yep. I've done this in a more difficult manner. Yeah. Again, teachers are good about finding a workaround, but now we've just made it so that you don't have to find the workaround. It's just the way it works. Kids don't need 10 passwords is super helpful. Yes, don't have to remember the password, don't have to use the code. All activity platforms in Nearpod. Yes. If I had some prizes, I'd be handing out prizes. Yes, you are getting it. This is what we're talking about. Everything is in that platform, and you take that Google platform that we use and the Nearpod platform that we use, which is oftentimes the two biggest that we have available to us, and they just work together. Excited about the Google add-on. Don't have to log into Nearpod and copy and paste. Yes. All right, another minute because we do have a few people who are still typing, so I want to make sure everybody has a chance to share. I need to be able to find the work in one place for revision. Oh, okay. So sounds to me like you might be using your Nearpod lesson longer than a single setting. A Nearpod lesson really works best in a single setting. So if they're having to come back and look at it again, yeah, that's probably going to create some tension for you. But if you'll use those lessons as a single setting, I think that will help in that particular instance. Beth, if you still have some questions, reach out to support or check out our Zendesk articles. We've got some information that might help you. Graphic organizers, fabulous. All right. So thank you so much for all of your responses. Thank you for participating in our learning today. I'm going to leave this. Well, actually, I'm going to go ahead and close this real quick. Dave, do you have any closing statements or anything as we are wrapping up?
Just thank you to everyone. I know it's summer, you're getting ready for back to school. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you to the Nearpod team for helping to think about how to really make your classroom awesome for this year. Hope everyone has an amazing back to school year. And feel free, I mentioned in a couple of responses, keep giving us your feedback about how we can continue to make this better for you. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Don't forget to complete the evaluation. I'm sure they're already posting it in the chat a couple of times. We are going to hang out here on the line because we are done just a few minutes early, but we're going to hang out here on the line. If you have questions, continue to put those in the Q&A piece for us, and we will stick around. If not, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day for learning. Go grab that second cup of coffee if you need it, and we will see you in other sessions later on today. And Alec, if you'll let me know as you guys are finishing up with the questions, don't want to end with somebody still learning something.
Hey, Julie, we had some frequently asked questions around the grading. Do you want to maybe show that a bit while we still have some of these questions getting answered?
Sure. So when you go into the grading and you click on that, that student, you can go in and you can see that student report. Whoops. Okay, that's not the right one. Hold on. All right, let me go back to another assignment real quick. Oh, I know what happened. I didn't do anything. That's my problem. So if the student doesn't do anything in the assignment, there's not going to be a report. So let me pull that back up again. I thought I had one. All right, grades, Julie.
Thanks for pulling this one up, Julie. This is one that a lot of our early users have been really excited about. Again, just really streamlining that workflow, less tabs open. So it really helps.
There we go.
Time to easy there.
There we go. I knew I had one. So this one, the student did something, so you can see this. So you can see how that Nearpod report is right next to it. I can go in, I can add grades, or I can go ahead and I can add comments. This comment will go straight. So that feedback to the student, closing that feedback loop. Now, for some of you, you may notice, okay, that looks a little bit like our old reports, but I thought we got new ones. We got new reports. However, the student report is not quite available yet. So hang tight. Mid-September-ish is when you are also going to see that new student report. And so that will be there. You can see that right there. you can return that to the student, which gives them access to that information, gives them access to looking at that report, the grade, and the private comments, and that sort of stuff. And so that's what that looks like. Any other questions that I can answer? So it looks like there's a couple of questions in the Q&A that are very Google specific, that are not Nearpod specific. Dave, I didn't know if you wanted to just answer them out loud, if that would be easier.
I'll work on typing up the answers to those. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you are so welcome, everyone. Looks like everybody's answering those questions fast and furious. Looks like Margaret had a question. If there are various activities in the Nearpod lesson, can you grade them separately? You would not be able to put in individual multiple grades for a single assignment, but you could kind of figure out, you know, I'm going to give 10 for this, 10 for this. Hopefully they all equal 100 or 50 or whatever you have set that for. So you could do that. For the individual activities, that would need to be either individual sections. You could break it down in the comments, which is probably what I would do, is break it down in the comments, and then use the individual pieces in the comments. So Nick, I think I showed the grade report page, but the question was, does it auto-populate a grade? And it does not put a grade there automatically, because again, Nearpod provides you evidence of that learning, and then you get to decide the grade that you want to put. All right. Oh, somebody says you can use the Google Classroom rubric for the individual sections. So that would be very helpful. Yes. And that would be part of that setup process at the beginning. Lots of fabulous Google and Nearpod love in the chat. All right. Moderators, anything else that we need to share before we go?
Hey, Julie, this is Holly. Do you mind going back to the Google gradebook?
Okay.
Nicholas wanted to see that one more time.
Okay. So I've got grades.
Perfect.
There's that Google gradebook. There's my assignments. This is the one that I was looking at with the student report in it. I did not have a student report in this one because I didn't actually do the lesson, and I apologize for that. But I did do this lesson. I can either click on that and see the assignment with everyone, or go back. I can click on the student. For me, I only have one student, so it looks the same. But if you had multiple students, they would be two different views. Perfect. Glad that helped. All right. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us this morning. Hope we sparked some ideas for you and showed you some of the new and powerful connections between Google and Nearpod. If you have additional questions, there's opportunities to post, I believe, in the platform for Camp Engage. And we always welcome questions at Nearpod, as I'm sure Google always welcomes your feedback. We both use that feedback to make what we do for teachers even better. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to give it about another minute or so just to make sure there's not any last minute questions. And then we're going to call this one done. All right. I think we are set. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.